These are ochres. We've got a few different colours. Or New Zealand yams. Anybody heard of these guys? Famous on MasterChef the other night. They actually used them. If there's any Kiwis, they'll know them in here, they'll know them instinctively. Known as ochres or New Zealand yams because the New Zealanders love them. They were originally imported to Europe in 1830 and into New Zealand about 1860. And they just stuck in New Zealand. They just love them. They've got quite a range of different colours. But they're originally from the Andes, so they're one of the lost crops of the Incas. Incredible easy plant to grow. Oxalis tuberosa. You can get them in all different colours. You can get them in black. They're just absolutely fantastic. You can eat the stems as well, or the new shoots. You can steam them. They've got like everybody's eaten oxalis, like the yellow stalks of the oxalis flowers, and chew them up when you were a kid. Got that oxalic acid. Lovely thing. You can use them, boil them, bake them, do anything you like with these guys. They're incredibly versatile and very good for you. Yeah, you can mash them. Yep. We've got some. We've cooked some up so everybody can try some. Unfortunately, they lose a bit of colour when you steam them all, but they're still good. There's a lot of interest from the chef community about these things. But they're really high in calcium and potassium and iron, and they're about 13.3% protein, so it's good for you. And they're really easy plants to grow. We have, if everybody's wandering around later, over against the fence, we grew some accidentally. We had a whole stack of potting mix like this, which I did some harvest. I've done this talk before, and we had a whole stack, and we harvested them when we left little tiny bubby bits in the potting mix, and then dumped the potting mix as a garden bed. And we left that size. We didn't bother harvesting them. You should see the crop we've got growing in the shade. They love to grow in the shade. Don't try these in the sun. They will not tolerate the sunshine. They'll burn the hell out of them in the sun. And when we were talking about some plants need the season before they start to develop tubers, these will not form tubers until after the summer solstice. Then they'll start to tuberise. But as a low ground cover and shade, beautiful. And they've got red stems, and they don't grow very far down. If you put them down and then mulch over top of them, they'll actually grow the tubers through the mulch. And so you don't have to dig down roots and just start to find the tubers. We spent, the three of us the other day, Greg, didn't we? Got 5 minutes, and we got a pot full, just on the ground, easy. So, fantastic plant to grow, really easy. This one. This is Chinese artichokes. That. And you can just eat them like that. So really like a sweat, like a chestnut. You just eat them raw. Use them in a stir fry. That was one tuber, to give you an idea, and just produces bucket loads. Now they're of the mint family, so they're invasive. So pot culture is probably good, or somewhere you don't worry about it. Again, likes the shade. I like little witchy grapes. Grown extensively in Japan, China. Like a bit of water. They've got a different form of carbohydrate and sugars. They're of the name of the family of Stachys, and they produce a substance called Stachys, which is very, very sweet, but only partly digestible. You can't digest a lot, so you never get sick, you never get fat eating these, that's for sure. But it's really good for your intestinal system and your immune system, because it's a different form of sugar.
Can you harvest those any time?
No, they're another one that will only produce tubers when they're dying down. So you have to wait until they die down completely and then harvest. Yeah, this time of year. In the fridge, once you've harvested them and they're exposed to the sun, or exposed to the air, they can tend to go brown. So a little bit of lemon water in the fridge and just keep them warm. Ages. But yeah, they're just a unique crop. They're very popular in France, but they haven't really taken off other than Asian countries, elsewhere in Europe. But very good. We tend to pickle them. They're delicious pickled. I keep growing. Easiest plant in the world to grow. In fact, too easy. Can take over vast areas. So be warned. Definitely. Definitely more shade. Yeah. We'll grow in some morning sun, fine. But yeah, really useful in those sort of hard to grow patches. The easiest way to control it, if you're worried about spreading it, is if you plant it adjacent to a very dry area. That's it. It needs water to grow. So just needs that extra bit of water. I got a lot of favourite plants. I'm just crazy like that.
I was just thinking, yeah.
This is what they call. This is the cinnamon yam.
Ooh.
And they're a really pretty plant. Not that you look at that, but they produce what they call aerial tubers or aerial potatoes. They produce a major yam in the ground, which I'll show you. We'll harvest that in a minute, and that's what the Japanese harvest. They harvest about 1,000 tons of this. No, sorry, 100,000 tons of this every year. The easiest plant in the world to grow. But from our point of view as herbiculturists, we like the fact that they produce these aerial potatoes. And they produce quite a lot of them. And as the plant grows and stays in the ground a bit longer and you don't harvest it, they start to get bigger and sort of make it more worthwhile. So the easiest way to harvest these things is to actually put a tarp down and you just shake it and they just drop onto the tarp and away you go. It's probably one of the quickest tubers to actually harvest that I've come across. And they're absolutely delicious. I just steam them. A little bit of butter, salt, pepper. Really easy to grow. The botanical name is very important because there's a whole lot of them and some of them can be toxic. Yeah, even if this thing didn't produce any worthwhile tubers or anything like that, I'd grow it for the flower. The cinnamon is the key. When they come into flower, the cinnamon in the igloo here, you can grow them outside, but firstly we have them in the igloo. You'd open the door and you'd just be swamped with this beautiful cinnamon tube. Fantastic. Let's have a go and let's have a look what the tubers are actually like as far as the non-ones. There we go, look at that. That's what you'd be harvesting if you dug them up, and or bigger. And so you just peel that and away you go, you just steam it. They produce massive, they usually produce like a finger, so each tuber will get quite large. The trick to growing them in situ, because the tubers can get down this far in the ground, they penetrate really far in the ground. So they can be a bit of a trick to harvest in ground. That's why the aerial side of it's so much easier. You don't have to do any digging. That's stunning plant. Really, really good. Actually grows better in semi-shade. Doesn't grow. I grow them up into on an archway, which is in the shade, and that's easy. So I can just they die down, come up every year, grow over the archway, put a tarp down over the path, give it a shake, they all drop down. Easy. Easiest thing. Yeah, the idea behind growing such a range of different things is just to make it easy. So I've got food, as you can see, I've got all these plants right through my garden. So this time of year I get pretty excited because there's just food everywhere, right through the garden. It's just, I find these plants and my partner would say, fantastic job, what do I do with them? And so I wish we'd written this book, but we may at some point. But this book's really good if you want to know how to get the most out of some of these tubers. And we've taken the recipes out of this book And so I'm giving full credit to these guys, which look like you can certainly try some. And it's a great book, just on this. It talks about forest garden plants, all kinds of different things. Does anybody know what that is? Fishbone food, common weed. Yeah. It actually comes from the Himalayas. And you might be surprised to learn that it's edible. So it's actually a native plant as well. It grows well in Australia. But it's these little things. These little, you probably, if anybody's familiar with the plant, I was, as a gardener, very familiar with this because it's basically a weed. But just a little bit of harvesting. It's those little tubery things that it produces, which are mainly water storage for the plant. That's their main purpose. But they also will propagate from those as well. So if you're removing them from an area, you'd want to get all these out. Now I haven't eaten these ever, so we're going to give this a go. You can see it produces a whole heap of these things. Yeah, I do try a few different things, that's true. Now I've done a lot of research on this. The Nepalese, the Kathmandu University, we've done studies on them and we're looking at developing them as a commercial crop. And the local kids eat these things, apparently. So, they're mainly water. That's it. There's not much nutrition in them. But apparently they're quite yummy. So let's give this a go. I've not eaten this. They're sweet. You can cook them. I think you need to. But that's okay, it's not bad. A lot of fibre. I wasn't warned about that. Yeah, they've got a lot of fibre. So you just almost suck them. That's why they're probably good for the kids. No, probably not a commercial crop. But I don't feel like I'm going to die. So if anybody wants to try one later, by all means. But yeah, they're mainly water. There's a lot of liquid in it, a little bit sweet. There's a bit of bitterness in that. Yeah, I think a very light steam would, well, what I read, a very light steam would just take the bitterness off them. But, I mean, yeah, the best way to get rid of a weed species is to eat it. So,
does that work with Wandering Jew?
What's that?
Does that work with Wandering Jew?
No, chickens. Chickens are Wandering Jew. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to harvest some taro. Taro is a really good crop. There's all different types of taro, or elephant ears. Quarter of the world's population, this is their major staple. This particular form we have is a Japanese taro. We have Japanese taro, we have taro from the Pacific region, which we grow as well. This one I grow outside, its leaves on it quite big. Very prolific crop, produces a lot of tubers. Particularly in the open garden, you get typically tubers of this size. Most of the Asian people will grow this and they'll dig it up and they'll extract a massive tuber and eat that. Because I'm a forest gardener, I don't like to do all this digging, so I tend to leave that in the garden and then break off the small tubers around the outside, and some of them are usually around this sort of size, and then you just steam them. There's a lot of different forms of taro, so you've got to know which one before you eat it. A lot of them purely ornamental, and they will make you very sick. This is Japanese taro. It'll grow in sun, it'll grow in shade. Yeah, like I say, it's been cultivated for thousands and thousands of years. The starch molecule in this is a lot more digestible than normal potatoes. So we can assimilate a lot more of the nutrient from a taro than you can any potatoes. A lot more waste in potatoes. So they're Pacific Islanders certainly know what they're doing. The downside to them, like the potato, potatoes when they're green, because you'll get really sick. Same thing with these guys, they've got a downside. They have a large percentage of calcium oxalate in the foliage and in the tuber, and it needs to be cooked to disarm it, if you like. If you don't cook it, you will get very sick very quickly. Certain forms of taro you can eat as a leaf crop. We have a few different forms of those as well. And I remember one of the leaf crop ones in particular, I harvested some and cooked it up, but didn't cook it quite long enough. And the crystals of the oxalo will actually penetrate your membranes in your mouth and cause quite an irritation. So much so that when I bit into this particular thing that I hadn't cooked well enough, my tongue started to swell up. And you get these pins and needles all through your mouth. So you've got to bed stuff. But once you cook it, you're fine. But it was great because it's at the dinner table with the kids, and I've just bitten into the thing, and they weren't eating it. They're not silly. And the tongue started to swell. I put them like this, properly, and they were just cracking up. So anyway, and after a few hours, it went down. It was fine. A little bit of milk, far better. But yeah. Why would you go to all the trouble? No. Well, the carbohydrates in this guy is about 34.6 grams. So it's loaded with carbohydrate. It's also got beta-carotene in it, large amounts. It's got calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium and zinc. And then it has vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, really high in vitamin E, vitamin K, vitamin B6, vitamin B3, vitamin B1, and vitamin B5. That's probably what we go. So they're really good for you. So it's worth the hassle. That's why world population eat these things. Let's have a look at it. So you get quite a lot, even in a pot. Now this was started 18 months ago from one tuber, to give you an idea. So they produce quite well, and they produce bigger tubers, and that's sort of what you're looking for when you harvest that. So you clean that up, let them dry, give them a fairly stiff brush, and just clean all that off, and then just peel them, but don't wash them. Because if you wash them, they get really slimy and impossible to hold. They're just like this all the time. So don't put them in water, whatever you do. It's impossible. And so and you can bake them, you can do anything with them. Or you can just keep them as a nice garden plant, because they look pretty. I use them in my forest garden at the back, which has got a tropical feel, so they fit right in because of the big leaf. The leaf gets this sort of size, and the clump's going to get to that size. So yeah, really useful. You just steam that. You can see the production on that. It's pretty big, just in a small plant. So, and in the garden, 3 times that.
Can you harvest any time of the year?
You can. You harvest all the. I typically go down and bandicoot around the base of the plant, and you'll find sort of tubers of this sort of size, and just break them off all right through the year. Easy plant to grow. We get frost, and it dies down to something like that, and then this reshoots. So it looks a little bit daggy in winter, but overall not too bad. Probably the most favourite discovery that I've made in this sort of tuber area of production, and this is a plant called a skirret. Old-fashioned vegetable. The other name for it is sucker woozle, which is even a better name than skirret, which is sugar root, which gives you an idea of flavour. The European plant, it's been cultivated for centuries. It was mainly found in England, but we don't know if it came to England from other places. But certainly when the Picts and the Roman conquests and all those, that's how far it's been cultivated, so a very long time. Allegedly, the Emperor Tiberius would accept these roots as tribute. He thought they were pretty cool as well. So yeah, they've been going for a very long time. They're herbaceous perennial. They grow about that tall. They're of the carrot family, so they produce those beautiful big umbels of flower. So they're very beneficial in a forest garden or any garden point of view because they attract a lot of beneficial insects. Really good from that regard. They just look really pretty. They flower a really long period too. They're fantastic. You can harvest them pretty much in their first year. You can leave them in the ground, dig them up. They'll just stay. They don't tend to get. Some will get a woody core if left too long after the 3 or 4 years. But most they're actually fine. And they have a root system which you'll see, which is sort of like a whole mass of roots, like a parsnip, that type of thing. They'll grow in a bit of moisture, sun, shade. Really easy plant to grow. It wouldn't be without it in the forest garden because it's got so much benefit to it. The new shoots when they emerge, which is the flowering stems, you can harvest those and just like steam, you can eat those. They're really delicious. But it's mainly the roots. We'll look at this one. This has gone to seed, so it's produced a whole stack of little babies. So again, you're not going to have to, once you buy one of these, you're never going to have to buy another one, because you'll have it everywhere. So to give you an idea, that's sort of what they do in the garden. So they're fairly easy to harvest too. You can sort of see how it's fairly big roots. I've got some over here, which I prepared earlier, to give you a better idea. And that's sort of what you're looking at. Like that. These were in Europe and got superseded by the potato when the potatoes came through. So before that they were a major crop. So they just give you an idea. And I just steam them with a bit of butter. You can sort of see. Get that sort of root mass on them. And so you can divide them up too and have them if you need to. But once you we'll steam these up for you guys, and they're really easy to prepare. And you might think, how do you clean that? Well, we just dug it up. I've just put that under the hose and just washed it off. And so it's fairly, you don't need much cleaning to it. You just steam them, and they are to die for. They are so sweet. One of the best root crops I think I've ever tasted in my life. Really worthwhile. Plus all those other benefits.
Any good raw?
You can eat them raw. They're far better cooked.